Hi everyone, welcome to Forward Thinking, my new In Conversation and educational TV series. I'm Adjunct Professor Art Phillips, and today's focus is entrepreneurship and work integrated learning. I have a very special guest that I'll be interviewing today, Dr. Andy West. Andy is an adjunct professor in the MBA Information Technology stream at the Universal Business School, Sydney, also with campuses in Melbourne and Adelaide. He's also a lecturer at the University of Technology here in Sydney in marketing analytics and digital marketing. However, before he became an academic, Andy owned an IT development company commercializing 2 products. He also has extensive published research with 26 works in 7 peer-reviewed journals, including the A-level journal Strategic Change, 2 books, 5 book chapters, and 13 conference papers. Whew. In the fields of strategic management, marketing, and higher education. I'd like to give a very, very warm welcome to Dr. Andy West for joining us today. Good to see you.
Great to be
How
here,
are you,
Andy.
Andy?
Yeah, really excited about today.
Absolutely pleasure to have you. We've known each other for a while, and we haven't ever been in this sort of environment, so I think this will be great for educational students to actually hear your point of view on information technology in particular, and the concept of marketing and entrepreneurship as they go.
Cool.
How critical is it for new business-minded people, entrepreneurs, to actually understand and be on top of the current technologies?
Yeah. Many entrepreneurs previously would have been looking at the world of change and heard about change happening all the time and really looking for those opportunities out there to take their business to another level. But now, COVID was said to be the great accelerator, and there's so many technologies that came along. And here we were, October last year, there was no ChatGPT. November, all of a sudden it's there, and the whole world has changed since then. And I suppose that's the point, that at any point in time now we can see we're getting used to the new environment, getting sort of used to a new normal, and then all of a sudden there'll be another jump again. So I suppose the point for entrepreneurs, and really anyone in business, is to have their trusted advisors that they listen to, and also sources of information. I mean, I receive maybe 5 to 10 different emails that I get on a regular basis from places that I've listened to over a while and give me good information and timely information. So it's a point of finding out what they are, because there's plenty of hype out there. It's just all part of getting brand awareness, product awareness, and even these software companies that are trying to get venture capital involved. So It's almost like don't believe all the hype, believe some of it.
So the research that you must have to do as a consultant is actually pretty massive, because it's an ever-changing, very, very quick moving market. When COVID happened, you really think that actually accelerated the new products actually out there on the market, yeah?
Well, it's not only products, but it's also societal change, although who knows, it seems as if maybe we've gone back a little bit to the way things, the whole thing was about, what's the new normal? And is there a new normal? And all that sort of,
all that.
People trying to fill lines on their blogs and in the media, I suppose. But no, there was quite a few things that did move ahead, different ways of thinking. Working from home, working from anywhere really changed a lot of things. Zoom was a solution waiting for a problem, and all of a sudden the problem arrived, which was COVID-19. So Zoom, Teams, those sort of products, all of a sudden they're out there. And working with those, we were a lot more productive as well.
And we are still using those. I'm still using Zoom.
Absolutely.
Much more than I would have ever done before. I remember when you and I talked a couple years ago when I was expanding my business to a certain extent, and I asked you for your advice and your help. And it was really interesting for me to watch how you actually asked me the questions about what is it that you need? Why do you think you need it? What are you going to do with it? So that's really, really important. And it's just been super helpful for so many reasons. So thank you for your expertise on that,
Yeah, and that's what I enjoy doing, because it's as part of that consultative process, it's asking many questions. To be able to have a real understanding, and I suppose that also goes to any business, whether it's service-based, like what I was providing, but also at a product level as well. is really asking the customer a lot of questions, maybe in market research, but listening to what they have to say. And there's different ways that can come in. And the technology is really there to do it. You know, you can look at comments online. Google Analytics is very powerful.
Yep.
Also, being able to look at likes, shares, all those sorts of things. So that's on the data side, and it's really important for any size business that can do it. And what I will say is the other thing with these changes is that in digital technology is it's really the democratization of technology. So like that CRM package before just wasn't really available to a small, medium-sized business, but now they've been able to get efficiencies in there in a particular subscription model that does have it accessible. And so you can really move ahead with it. And same on the data analytics side as well.
Yeah.
So businesses should keep their eye out what's available. And just because the big businesses are doing it, that's something that, you know, can be integrated into your own business as well.
Which is really amazing, because the competition now for smaller businesses against big corporates is actually really, it's amazing how this has actually happened.
Yeah.
And it's become a really narrow field and pathway because of technology. You know, that's
right.
exactly right. Years and years ago, systems that were in place by big corporations, we didn't even know what they were, how to use them, we couldn't afford them, but now we can. Incredible, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, so democratization, but also these businesses that are able to be what's called digital natives.
Yeah.
That is, from when they start, they're not just looking in their own local area, even city, they become digital natives, and the globe is their market as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to go global.
Yeah. So for you, you're really a information technology consultant as I see it, but you're also an academic, because I also know you with those hats on too, yeah? You were certainly and are certainly a entrepreneur before you delve into the academic part of it, right?
That's right.
It was the late 90s, early 2000s. I guess you actually had your own product development company in the IT areas, where you actually commercialized 2 products. And believe it or not, I've known you for a while. I don't know what these products are, so I'm curious.
They're dead and buried, unfortunately, now. But this is what really got me interested in diving deeper into, you know, having an understanding about IT, digital transformation, but what goes on behind. So first of all, I had my own business. You know, this is the mid-90s. The internet had just started. I was more in accounting software on that side of things.
Right.
And I started developing shopping carts that linked the web with their back-end accounting, because that was the thing that was starting to happen at the time, and there was no Shopify or some of these other things that are just sort of plug and play, you just get them off the shelf. Yeah. So you actually had to develop even for, you know, small, medium-sized businesses. And so that's what I was involved in. And then met up with my business partner, and he was more on the software side of things. He was a very good software designer, software engineer. And we knew that mobile was coming. We could see these businesses, and that they were, you know, people were having, remember the Palm Display Assistant?
Sure do.
The PDA.
I used to have one, yeah.
Did you? There you go. So Palm Display Assistants were big at that time, because you've got to remember we were still in, everything was 2G, so it was analog.
That's right.
When you were out and about, there's no Wi-Fi, everything was plugged in, you know, and even the old noise from the modem and stuff, the dial-up modems. So that's the era we're talking about. It's what we call Web 1.0.
1.0,
Yeah, which is the first iteration of the web. And so you got these analog systems, and the internet's there, but everything's plugged in. So we knew that mobile was an important thing as part of businesses. So we had a few clients, and one of them was into party plan, and also another one was into like wine sales. So they had their salespeople going around, and they had to handwrite things down, quite often got the orders wrong. So what we did is we created a package for them to take out the Palm Display Assistant, you know, with the stylus, and they're able to place their orders, and they'd take their inventory out with them, and they'd know what was back in the warehouse. And then the other one was an inspection system for more industrial companies that were looking at crane systems and things like that.
I see.
And they were checking their machinery and factory, and they had to go out and check that and then go back. But the thing is, being Palm, remember the cradle?
Yes.
So you had one. So you couldn't just do it like today. It's like totally
No,
different. You had to
no.
come back, put your cradle in, sync it back with the database. So there was all that sort of stuff.
All
but
that,
that
yeah.
was revolutionary at
It
the
sure
time.
was, yeah.
We even had people that, one of them they took, because they wanted to give it to their customer, the inspection guys, they'd have bubble jet printers in their vans, and they cradled it with that so they could print out a report, and that was seen as magic.
Right then and there, right. So they opened the doors and they would
so that's
plug it in.
late 90s, early 2000s.
That's right, yeah.
And then they're the two main products. Then from there, we thought, right, we've got this. This is happening. We went all in, and so the third product that we went to develop was more with a major accounting software package, and idea that tradies would be out there doing their thing. So this is 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
We're still working with the Palm operating system, Palm OS. And this is an example where, first of all, Web 2.0 came along, which didn't impact us directly, but Apple and smartphones came along. So Apple OS came along and just totally wiped us.
Yeah.
We should have seen it coming, and we should have been aware of what was coming on and sort of not put all our chips on that Palm operating system,
right, I see.
which in the end, Palm was bought out by Hewlett-Packard, HP, and it was such a dog of a system that they just got rid of it. They scrapped it, and then, Apple and then Android took over. So anyway, the third one knocked us out, so I was looking for, what's the next stage of my life, and so I moved into the consulting, but then just really wanted to study and get more into the academic side of things as well.
No, amazing. It's really interesting that you actually just mentioned these years and 1.0, technology. I was just on an airplane flying to Los Angeles for business and just came back. And during the 13, 14 hours, you get to watch movies. And one of the movies I watched was Blackberry. Good movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie called Blackberry. And I'll tell you, I learned so much from that.
Yeah.
Really interesting. But all the stories that you just told, that's exactly what happened there. Because they even talked about the Palm Pilot, and everything.
Oh, there you go. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you got to watch it,
But we forget. Apple came in and just, like us at our level, we should have seen some of the other things and been more nimble and be able to adapt. But unfortunately, we've just gone in so much on that. But the other thing is, knocked out Nokia, Ericsson, Motorola, these major international organisations. They just,
all of it, very quickly.
So, this is getting back to my first point. You'll need to look a little bit over the horizon, not take too many risks, but just have an understanding of what's coming up and be agile to be able to take advantage of those things.
No, that's right. Because I think the problem with BlackBerry, as they admitted, was that they were so stuck on that keyboard.
Yes, the QWERTY keyboard.
Right. That's right. The keyboard that they decided that we're going to keep that and we're just going to add a Palm. Oh no, a little finger mouse pad. That's what they said. And that was their answer to Steve Jobs' concept with the Apple iPhone. Really amazing. So you moved into sort of academia sort of in the late 2000s, I guess, around 2009, 2010, something like that.
I finished my doctorate in 2012.
Okay, and you're conducting a lot of research in sort of marketing analytics. Let's talk about that, because that's really, really important for a business to actually understand analytics and how you can suss them out and get the right programs.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a full range of different things. I mean, the first one is obviously Google Analytics, which is available as soon as you've got your pages up. And then, any AdWords and things like that, which gives information through. The other thing is it's at the stage now where there's it's one thing to have the data, and we have data's everywhere. And the next thing is capturing it and then making sense of it. So small to medium-sized businesses, often they have data everywhere. And the thing is that often it's highly dispersed. You've got someone's laptop over there that might have an Excel spreadsheet, and someone's got something over here. So it's all over the place. So the first thing is to find a way for everything to have what's called one truth. That is, what is the most up-to-date system? And this is where the cloud, having like OneDrive and just having a shared drive that you're able to have that one source of truth is very important for that to come together. And then the next thing is that advancements more recently is Power BI, which is from Microsoft. A lot of people use that. I know, and then also Tableau, and this is a data visualization. So either if the business person or people that have a little bit of tech, you don't need to know that much about, you don't even need to code these things. If you're good at Excel, you can work with Power BI. But the key is to know your data, then know what is it you need to ask of that data to get information on a regular basis, and then create the dashboards that can give you that information, even on a daily basis. I've seen some people, and they're, you create it and it's up, and it's like, stocks, or, maybe checking, sports results or something. They're on it every hour, sort of watching things move up because it moves on a regular basis if it's live, or every day. The thing is not to get, have analysis paralysis and not get totally looking on it, but work out where it, what is it telling you, on what level, and then how you can see things change over time. Because that's the other thing in my research, and especially the consultancy, is involved in benchmarking. So know what's going on in your industry. Not have a feel for the figures and the data, what the consumers are doing, what they're looking for. What is a reasonable response time? How many complaints can you get? How many is okay? How can you turn them around? So it's really being able to make sense of that. And not only for you as the business owner, but the other beautiful thing is to be able to have everyone on the same page. And if you've got, business people are passionate, and often those that do well, they know what their purpose is and their vision. You can get up and tell people what that is, but if you've got the data to back it up and say, this is where we're going and this is where we're heading to, you can track those things over time.
Because you better understand the foundations of what you're doing by really understanding all that and working out. Now we have this new thing called artificial intelligence, AI, which is there's pros and cons, of course, and scary times for a lot of reasons, as you know. But there's also really positive things happening with it. So, I wouldn't mind. This was future technologies. Now it's not. No. We got other future technologies to talk about, like 3.0 in a minute. But let's just have a chat about, AI and where you see it.
Well, obviously, November, December, there was a mad scramble as people were getting their heads around ChatGPT, and then GPT-4 came out. So most people for free can get ChatGPT 3.5, which is great. And then 4.0, there's a subscription. But then the other thing is many businesses are actually either using ChatGPT, owned by OpenAI, which was subsequently bought out by Microsoft, but also Google has got their own, and then Apple is getting their own as well. But many companies are building it into their own company, and whereas ChatGPT and the others are using, they used a lot of Wikipedia, they scrape the web, just getting, basically, with the large language machines, what they're doing, models in the machines, what they're doing is gathering the data in, and then they need to be able to make sense of it, which is what's going on when we ask the question. But where is that information coming from? And obviously the other thing, as we know, you can't always trust it. They still do what's called hallucinate, where they just make stuff up. And they sound very convincing.
And it sounds good.
Not only that, but they're so convincing.
And
then when you question it, you say, well, this is wrong. They said, oh, sorry, I am a large language model and blah, 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 blah. And they make excuses for themselves, but they sound so... So this is where the human side comes in. And as I said, many businesses are bringing it into their own business. But it's interesting now that we've had a bit of time, big consultancies, like there was a really good report from Boston Consulting Group, and they went global in their finding out and what productivity. And the point is, it's interesting in culture that particularly older people, maybe they're not too sure and they're worried about their job, middle management or middle age, they're trying a few things. Younger people are just using it. And if you ask them, are you using it? Yeah, of course. Getting onto TikTok, YouTube, and they learn about it and try to work out, because the whole thing is hacking and how to make their life more productive. So if you give them a task and they can knock it over in a few hours, rather than taking, you used to take a week. What BCG found was that it makes mistakes and that needs to be checked. The top people were still top and used it a little bit, but really what it did, it sort of lifted the base. So those people who are anything formulaic or standardized, it's very good at. So those people that were bad at communicating on emails, they did a bad report, they didn't know formatting, the other thing is ChatGPTs and all the others, their spelling and grammar is perfect.
Yeah.
And so those people that weren't as good at communicators in that way, in effect, it's lifted them up. So in that way, the base has been lifted up. But there's still the creative element and the top performers, the top critical thinkers and decision makers above that they can really stay above that.
Yeah, I see.
But it's interesting, I remember at the beginning of the year, and you know, yourself, we were working out, we've got this thing, how are we able to deal with this? And the beauty of being in higher education is, you know, we've got the Australian Quality Framework, AQF, and there's different levels of thinking. And quite often there is analytical and critical thinking. So we've got flexibility to have assessments that are able to be at that higher level.
Okay.
And also more practical based. So there's this big scramble to do what's called, or bringing in, it existed before, authentic assessment, which is the work integrated learning side of things.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I know you're a big proponent of that and have done great stuff with work integrated learning. You know, this is something that UBSS aims for, and is very quite out there in what they're able to do even beforehand. Because the point is, if you ask a student, what did we just learn in the classroom? ChatGPT or anyone else doesn't know. So that's where the more contextual it is and the more practical based, that's the authentic assessment. And when you think about it, it's a lot better assessment than, you know, write a few pages on some theoretical concept and stuff. You know, that can just be regurgitated. So
no, because there's more meat to the substance, I guess.
Exactly. And applied. It's the take what you learn, but how did you apply it?
Right.
And I mean, they're getting a bit theoretical, but there's a thing called Bloom's taxonomy, and at the very top of that, so there's different levels of understanding, then explaining, then describing, all the way up. But at the very top is create. So if you ask your students to create, then that's sort of, they really have to take the theory, move it around, blend it, mold it, and then create something, whether it be an original piece of you know, writing or anything in the creative side. But that's seen as the top level. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the cons, I guess, about AI and the pros, right? AI is a threat, especially, well, in any creative industry, I suppose, because you can human input, right, the data that you wanted to create and actually create something original. And of course, with what I do in the music sector, it's a real controversial subject at the moment in terms of, you know, copyright control, who's going to own it, who's going to actually get the benefits of that, you know. And we're thankful that in the Berne Convention, which is the Swiss copyright convention, we have a clause in there about it has to be created by a human, not just input by a human. So we're sort of okay, it's not too much of a danger at this point. And all along since, I don't know, a year ago, you know, when I started to really look at it, and I see all the organizations talking about AI and what we're going to do, how it's going to work, I only recently found how beneficial it is. You know, and that's really, really great, because I can now use it for my own search engine, because I have a music library representation company where TV networks here in Australia use the music that I represent, not just from my catalog, but other catalogs. And there's a really sophisticated search engine. Now we have implemented, just 2 days ago, and it's almost finished, AI on the search engine, where we can now drop a file into the search bar and it'll find a song that feels like that, or sounds like that, or it's a, you know, it's not just keyword tagging search, it's
the actual
AI
music
search
behind as well,
and
like MP3.
Yeah, you know, so if you drop an MP3 file in, it'll find other music in your libraries that feel and sound like that, or a URL YouTube link for, you know, like with Rihanna performing or whoever, and it'll find tracks like that. So there's a positive in terms of, you know, that technology. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's a great application. And this is the point. You're able to use that AI in an innovative way, and the ability is there, you know, for your business. And your customers get the customer service and the level of the benefits for them is unbelievable. You know, as they're thinking about a particular tone that they might have heard, or a bit of a grab, and that's come through. But that's what is going to happen. ChatGPT jumped ahead, and all of a sudden we're in text. Now you're talking about music with MP3. It's going to get to the stage, or it is already, with the creation of images with Mid-Journey and DALL-E and some of the other ones. But we're going to get to the stage next where it's video. and
Okay.
sampling video files, which is already done at a particular level, but that'll be the next one where it's available.
Yeah.
Generally, where you take a video, put it on, and can you create this? Because the next thing, in the creative space is the race to create a feature film.
Yeah.
By ChatGPT, and then what's the quality going to be?
Scary
It
time.
is. I will say it's interesting. You mentioned some artists. There are certain artists though that say, "Yeah, bring it on."
Bring it on.
And I think, and those that have been around for a while and have a big back catalogue, so that you can actually create. They create. If you want to ask questions of them, they can answer questions.
Yeah.
And maybe particularly because of their lifestyle, they're a bit more laid back. I know Snoop Dogg loves it. And there's going to be a Snoop Dogg AI in here.
Well, that's right. Paul McCartney tried it with something too recently.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So I guess we have to be wary of new technologies, but I think if we embrace them and understand that it's going to help with change, and we use them to the benefits of, like my example, for example, it's a good thing. Yeah,
it is.
I actually hosted a seminar that you were on the panel of, and I remember some of those questions that we went through. But just basically, cybersecurity. How often do you get consulting questions about that for small businesses, any business?
I'm not a technician on cybersecurity, but I am. I do work a lot with data, and aware of what the limitations and the risks that are involved with data. And that was really my input. So that was with the Institute of Managers and Leaders.
Yeah, it was IML.
IML.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was.
And anyway, so there were other people on the panel that were fantastic. They were in the IT section and they were able to give advice on checking passwords and all that sort of stuff. But we can see a lot of the targets are accessed, but in effect they're after trade secrets, which we don't tend to hear about. But the main breaches are about customers' data.
That's right.
Because then that gets sold and goes off. And in Australia, there's been sort of 3 big ones that are made. And unfortunate for me, there was a trifecta I didn't want to get, and because I got my stuff's all over the web, the dark web apparently, and I get messages. I got good security with McAfee and stuff like that, so I go in and work it out and find out where it is and stuff. But that's where they're the main targets. And the interesting thing with that, and one of my main messages was know your data, and this holds for any size business, is know your data and know where it is so you can secure it, and also why do you have it? Because it turned out one of them was a finance company, which I won't give their name away, but a finance company. There's a telecommunications, a health insurance, and a finance company.
That's right.
And this finance company, I got a message, they said, you've been public relations. I was like, well, I've never got anything from you. But it was actually, they bought another major multinational finance company, and they had this data from 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that they kept. And I read later, and I thought, oh, that makes sense. That's where that came from. Found out later, 60% of the data that was taken was from previous acquisitions. So this attitude in data, let's just grab everything and then we'll try to make sense of it later. That's dangerous because you're opening yourself, to have a lot of unruly data that you can't work with.
Right.
You're also now, all of those institutions, I'm on class actions against these companies.
Yeah.
If they'd cleaned their data and knew where it was and why they had it, there'd be they'd probably have better security systems in place.
I see.
But also they wouldn't be open to so many others that,
From
the hackers, and now have taken the information out there.
Yeah.
So that was my lesson. My main points I was trying to make is
that's right.
know your data, know why you have it, secure it, and then really ask, why do we keep this for so long?
What's the purpose of
Exactly.
actually having it for that amount of time? Yeah, it's just crazy times. I mean, there's just so much going on with IT. So on that note. Where do you think things are going next? I mean, that's where's the crystal ball, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things that are sort of happening very quickly at the moment, sort of behind the scenes in infrastructure, and that is there's a lot of what was cloud databases.
Yeah.
So that's Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Services. So they've got such a big business that they found that they had a lot of cloud data centers. So now they have that out. Microsoft and others. So, and there's this other type of technology they're bringing in, which is edge, cloud edge, where it's a lot closer to, not in one central place. So the speed with which we can get information up and down from the cloud will improve because they have the major data centers and then other edge centers that give us access a lot quicker. So that's what's going behind. But for entrepreneurs, it's really to look out for as a service. So like your CRM is as a service.
Yeah.
You don't own the software. You didn't have to
No.
buy it. You know, the good old days where we bought the floppy disks or even the CD-ROMs and put them in. You know, you don't own anything physical anymore. And in fact, you don't own anything. All you're doing in effect is licensing the right to use that and have access to that. And then also there's other things privacy between you, and you have to feel comfortable with the provider.
That's right.
Because in effect, they've got your data, but your customers' data as well.
Yeah.
So the point, I'd say that's developing, and that'll go even further. Everything as a service.
Yeah.
So infrastructure, software, and that's another area of this democratization that gives access to small and medium-sized businesses.
There's so many monthly subscriptions nowadays that we can actually, and I have a lot. I probably have too many. I actually made an Excel list about 2 months ago thinking, wow, that's crazy. And then I tried to whittle it down to say, what do I really need and what don't I need? And it's amazing, I mean, once you start depending on these things, and they actually work.
Yeah, and a tip for any business person is use them, know the limits that you want to go to.
Yes.
And if there's a level of customization you want and that extra bit of information, you pay. And so keep an eye on your cash flow. It's the same at a personal level, There are people that have 3 subscriptions to gyms or, 5 different streaming services and the credit card comes in.
That's right.
It's the same for business. So know what your processes are and really question that. And so then you know where to use those. But, in business, cash is king. And all of a sudden you have these monthly amounts just going out. And you can forget about them. And that's great that you had the Excel sheet, but that's the important, on the finance side, to really go through. There's an area in marketing analytics called the marketing technology, MarTech, and stacks. And that gives you an idea, which is, you get this package to do that, this one to do that. You've got Google, you've got Power BI, and then you've got another one, and then similar web and things that checking other things. And it's called a stack because it just builds up. And working out how they all fit together. But there are companies that are spending millions of dollars, like larger organisations, millions of dollars on these marketing MarTech stacks. And it's getting to the stage now where first the finance departments were saying, well, hey guys, what's going on here? Do we really need it? And now the boards are starting to ask that as well, which is a fair question.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, because it has gotten out of hand because of the availability of these things and the new stuff, you want to try them, so you have to do that, and then you find it's a year subscription, and you think you canceled it, and but
they're always selling you to the next level.
Oh, I know, and that's right. And there's always this new add-on about this deals or something else in the CRM programs or whatever the case is. So this program is obviously called Forward Thinking for one particular reason, because I believe that all entrepreneurs have to, not just be here now or in the past, they have to just keep thinking ahead. So lifelong learning or work integrated learning as well, I mean, what can you actually sort of pass on to our fellow students that are probably, hopefully watching this program in terms of, how they should actually frame up their thinking daily?
Okay, so a few things. One of them, it goes back to the first point, which is to be aware of what's going on. Yeah. And I don't know, that's easy for me to say maybe because I'm a bit of a tech nerd anyway. Growing up as a kid, I was madly into the Asimov science fiction books and, all those sort of things. So Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and stuff. So maybe that's easy for me to say, but at some level to at least be aware of what's going on, and also for, students, and not only younger students, but also more so the older students. And the point is that there are changes coming, not to be afraid of them. Over and over again, different people have said it, head of IBM and stuff like this. Automation and AI isn't going to take your job. the person using automation and AI will take your job. So you need to be one of those people.
That's
and
it.
and whatever the next thing, that would be the thing to be aware of. And either yourself, because I understand that, it's hard to keep up with things, but also to a level, or have, especially as an entrepreneur, have people around you that are able to do that. You don't have to be the smartest man in the room or person in the room. You can have access to, and then have those people, have them put it in place.
Exactly.
So that's part of the lifelong learning. The other thing is be prepared to put yourself outside your comfort zone.
Risks.
Yeah. And personally, you're learning, and I know sometimes it's hard, and you're thinking, do I really need this? And this is hard. I'm learning something new, and all of a sudden there's all this other language. But if you can get there, obviously UBSS, is a great institution, and we have some excellent undergrad and master's level degrees. But also there's many other places out there where you can get access to really good. There's more and more of a move towards access to online learning that isn't credentialed. You don't have to be credentialed, and a lot of the learning can be done through that. One of them is LinkedIn Learning, which is from, they bought out Lynda, which was a major online package. So they bought out Lynda, and so that's available through LinkedIn. I recommend that. They have great stuff. Obviously YouTubes and TikToks, and there's all sorts of things. And I will say this, I don't think you should be paying for something if it's not credentialed. I think there's enough information out there. If you look enough, you can find out and get some good packages and have a good understanding of things for free. Or at very minimal cost. In effect, what you're paying for when you go to a higher education institution is the quality assurance, the quality of the lecturers, the quality of the learning material there. But to understand, they have a lot of compliance cost to keep their, in Australia, the TEXA license, and to be able to keep that, which is the registration of the institution and all those courses. So in effect, that's what you're paying for the credentialing. If it's not credentialing, there's a lot of stuff out there for free.
That's right. Really interesting. But look, just fantastic to have you here today, because really I wanted to talk about sort of entrepreneurship and marketing and all this IT stuff. I think we really accomplished some great stuff. Just a real pleasure. There's much more to talk about. We'll have to have another one coming up.
For sure.
Andy, thank you.
Good on you. Art.
Thank you so
really
much.
Enjoyed it.
Really do appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mate.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Until the next time, entrepreneurship and work integrated learning. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.